In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on September 16, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Penn State versus Illinois. The Penn State Nittany Lions head out on the road for the first time this season after demolishing the competition by a combined score of 101-22 in 2 home victories. Penn State covered the number in both of those to make 9-0 against the spread in their last 9 dating back to last year, and they are a perfect 5-0 against the spread under James Franklin when they are coming off a game where they scored 60-plus points. Yet when the first conference game of the season is also the first road game for a team, some odd things can happen, and Illinois Fighting Illini backers are hoping that's the case on Saturday. Illinois has yet to cover a spread this year and is getting a healthy 2 scores at home in this one. The belief that the Illini defense has underperformed is something I do tend to agree with, and if a bettor is constantly worried about losing something random as the turnover battle a concern with backing Illinois, then it's probably time to move that money towards something with less risk. I've also never been a fan of laying in with brand name programs as road chalk off a blowout win over in football championship subdivision opponent, as there can already be too much hot air blown into the locker room after wins like that. Going on the road to face anyone, let alone a conference rival, when you are expected to win easily, again the reeks of potential overconfidence, and then you've already got to spot the home side X amount of points. No, not for me, especially in this case. Illinois has the defense to make this a really frustrating day for Aller and Penn State's offense, as I do expect to see Aller throw his first interception of the season as well. It's the reliance on that defense that can overexpose the Illini at times, but after 2 subpar outings to being the year, and virtually the same defensive scheme as a year ago, the primetime lights, home crowd, and rival opponent will have the Illinois defense extremely prepared to shoulder that burden as much as possible. This is still a unit that led the nation in scoring defense a year ago. The Illini offense can do enough to not completely blow this game if they don't repeatedly turn the ball over, as 26.5 points per game so far this year is nothing to sneeze at either. It should serve them well enough to stay within this number, a point spread that also just feels too big when it comes down to it. Because through 2 weeks of the season, road favorites of any number in college football are still just 13-15-1 against the spread, with 6 of those 13 against the spread wins coming from Pac-12 programs, which is just wild. However, that's a league-wide trend I like to be aware of every year though. The Penn State Nittany Lions blowing the doors off here wouldn't surprise anybody, as they're the better, more talented team and are off to a fine start. However, Penn State hasn't exactly played anybody through 2 games, and this is its first road test. Illinois should be up to redeem itself after not showing up against Kansas, and is 5-1 against the spread in its last 6 games as double-digit underdogs. Also, a possible look-ahead spot for Penn State with a ranked Iowa team on deck. We're getting just over 2 touchdowns. That extra point could come in handy. I'll take a shot with the home dog, even if the Fighting Illini don't look great at the moment. So the Illinois Fighting Illini to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Nittany Lions are loaded offensively and figure to score efficiently against an Illinois defense that has regressed significantly following last season's dominant performance. The Illini are outside the top 100 in drive efficiency and points per drive allowed, and have given up 11 explosive plays, which also ranks outside the top 100. Furthermore, they yield at least 30 yards or a touchdown on over 75% of opposing drives and have surrendered 7 touchdowns in 10 opposing red zone trips through 2 games. Given Illinois defense woes, Penn State should be able to punch in several points. Just 1 year ago, with this kind of game total, I'd have rushed to the window to take the under with the Illini defense involved. This year, however, the Illini defense has not shown out. They are allowed close to 500 total yards of offense over 2 games and don't appear equipped to stop the run at all. The opposition is averaging 32 points per game through 2 contests. And while Kansas was a formidable opponent, neither team that Illinois has played is on par with Penn State. Every Penn State road game went over the total last season, and I do not expect much to change in this contest at Illinois. Illinois will muster up enough points to keep things competitive, and Penn State can probably be relied head on for the rest. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. LSU versus Mississippi State. Southeastern Conference schools will kick off early on Saturday as the number 14 LSU Tigers are headed to Starkville where the Mississippi State Bulldogs are waiting. These teams play every year, and the Tigers have taken 4 of the last 5 meetings. However, there is a pattern where every third meeting the Bulldogs win, which would be this weekend if the pattern holds. Mississippi State does get to host in Davis-Wade Stadium, so is an upset on the horizon. At noon, the world will find out. Let's see how these Southeastern Conference West foes are looking before their first conference matchup of 2023. Mississippi State will be motivated to get their Southeastern Conference season started with a 1-0 record. The Bulldogs host LSU in a game that will provide a great atmosphere on Saturday. LSU has a 1-1 record this season as they were beaten easily against Florida State. The Tigers followed it with a win against Grambling, but issues still were shown. The Tigers' defense has had a hard time slowing down rushing attacks. They gave up 5.6 yards per carry to Grambling last week. Mississippi State's Marks will be licking his chops as he has rushed for over 120 yards in each of the first 2 games of the year. The Bulldogs have moved away from an air raid approach under first-year head coach Zach Arnett despite returning a talented veteran quarterback in Will Rogers. Through 2 games, Mississippi State has run the ball 67.24% of the time, the 6th highest percentage in the country. It's worked out so far, but LSU presents a much more physical and challenging front 7 than they have faced all season. If they want to keep up with Jaden Daniels and this Tigers offense, I expect them to widen the variety within the playbook this week. The Tigers secondary got torn apart against Florida State in Week 1, and Rogers, who already has over 10,000 career passing yards, is more than capable of exploiting their weaknesses. It's a new system, so there is expected to be growing pains, but this Bulldogs offense has to capitalize off of opportunities granted to them by the defense. Mississippi State has forced 8 turnovers in 2 games, yet weren't able to break away from Arizona in a game they ended up winning in overtime. This is an experienced defense led by a defensive-minded coach, and I expect them to show up for a huge conference game at home. With a good running attack, Rogers will be able to air it out, causing problems for LSU. The Bulldogs will be putting up points in this game, and I think they can stop the Tigers' offense. LSU's Daniels has been very solid this year, but they are going up against an improved defense led by Johnson. I get that LSU is a talented team, but this is a Southeastern Conference game, and Mississippi State is a tough place to go on the road and compete, let alone win by double digits, and the Bulldogs, with that high-octane offense, can be a really hard team to stop and pull away from. With all things considered, LSU is simply more talented and should come out of this with a win. But 9.5 points is a lot of points to cover on the road against a familiar Southeastern Conference opponent. I'm going with Mississippi State to make things interesting in this one. In the crazy Southeastern Conference environment, I don't see LSU winning by 2 scores in this game, so the Mississippi State Bulldogs to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. LSU's passing attack has been great to start 2023 and has tremendous personnel. Mississippi State's pass defense has been shaky so far. The Bulldogs' defense also has issues containing mobile quarterbacks, which LSU has. Expect the Tigers to put up at least 28 on the Bulldogs for a 5th straight year, although it'll probably be more. As for Mississippi State, Will Rogers has the arm talent to hit throws against anyone. LSU doesn't have much of a pass rush this season, so he should have all day to find a target. Even if the Bulldogs can't establish the running game like they want to, they should be able to find points through the air. LSU has allowed at least 30 points against 5 of their last 7 conference foes. The over has hit in LSU's past 6 games, and this will be 7. The under has hit twice in both of Mississippi State's first 2 weeks, but I believe the totals for those games were just set far too high. The Bulldogs have combined for 55 points in both games that they have played, so they are close to hitting the over and not getting blown out. In this game against LSU, I think the total hits the over on Saturday. The offenses are just far too explosive, and each team's defense has hardly shown the capabilities to shutting a team down. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. Florida State versus Boston College. The Florida State Seminoles will be trying to pick up their first conference win of the season when they face the Boston College Eagles on Saturday afternoon. The game will be played at Alumni Stadium. The Seminoles are coming off a 66-13 win over Southern Mississippi as 31-point favorites. The Eagles are coming off a 31-28 win over Holy Cross as 10.5-point favorites. Florida State is 9-1 in its last 10 games against Boston College. Florida State is one of the best teams in the country and has dominated in their first 2 games, including their opening win against number 5 LSU. They have a Heisman candidate at quarterback in Jordan Travis and one of the best defenses in the country, having scored 45 against LSU and 66 against Southern Miss. Boston College has made it clear that their defense is not the strength of their team, and this Florida State offense is going to dominate once again. Meanwhile, Florida State's defense will take advantage of Boston College's weaker offense line and wreak havoc in the trenches. The Seminoles won their first 2 games convincingly. They've done a great job offensively so far, scoring more than 45 points in both games. They've run the ball well so far, and they're facing a Boston College team that has struggled defensively, especially against the run, so expect them to pound the ball on the ground, which will allow them to open up their passing game, which has also been very good. The Eagles haven't looked good so far, and they barely got past a Holy Cross team they should have defeated easily. They don't throw the ball well, but they have a good ground game. Unfortunately for them, the Seminoles have done a great job defending the run, so expect them to stack the box and force Castellanos to beat them with his arm, which isn't going to happen. Expect the Eagles to struggle running the ball and find themselves in a lot of third and long situations after stalled rushes and sacks. Playing from behind the sticks will hinder their offense and allow Florida State to build on the scoring differential. The Seminoles are 2-0 against the spread on the season and have proven they can cover high spreads, as they were 31-point favorites against Southern Miss. Look for the Seminoles to dominate once again and prove they are worthy of a playoff spot. So the Florida State Seminoles to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Seminoles are averaging 55.5 points per game through 2 games. They averaged 36 points per game in their last 3 games against the Eagles. They throw the ball well, and they're just as good on the ground. The Eagles haven't been able to stop the run, and they haven't faced an offense as good as Florida State's, but they gave up close to 30 points in both of their games, so expect the Seminoles to score at least 45 points in this game. The Eagles averaged 27.5 points per game through their first 2 games. They averaged 23 points per game in their last 3 games against the Seminoles. Even though the Seminoles have a good run defense and will be able to slow down Boston College's ground game, their secondary has given up a few big plays, and the team is giving up over 18 points per game. Florida State very well could cover this total themselves, having scored 45 or more in their first 2 games of this season. What we have here is one of the best offenses in the country colliding with one of the worst defenses they will face this season. Boston College should be good for a touchdown or 2, as Florida State's offense has been good enough to cover this over by themselves, and Boston College could very well get at least 1 or 2 scores with the home crowd behind them. In terms of trends, both Florida State and Boston College have gone over in their first 2 games, making me all the more confident in believing this game ends up being a high-scoring affair. Even if the Eagles don't score or barely score at all, I still believe this one will be a high-scoring affair. This total actually opened up at 56.5 and has since moved to 47.5 in fear of inclement weather, but it will not have that much of an impact on the game. If it does, the game will be rescheduled, but if it doesn't, I see this as extremely good value on the over. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.